After my sister told me my father had a baby with my brother baby mama.
This my daughter. This ain't no picture. Say hey, say this my dad.
Hey, this is my daddy.
Say this what we do.
That's what you do.
And so you kill people?
Yeah. Somebody tried to put me in the shit. Somebody hurt my family, I'm gonna kill them.
I'm asking you, have you killed people?
Yeah.
Crazy Boy Bray sure showed a dark, demonic side to him when he learned the secret his father tried to hide from him and ordered his murder. But the reason why, the twisted family secret hiding underneath all of it, is what nobody saw coming. Before we get into what happened on January 25th, 2022, let's go back to where this all started, because nothing about Braylon's story begins with his father's murder. It begins with a childhood that almost guaranteed something like this would happen. Braylon Lamont Brown was born around 2001 in Fort Worth, Texas, the youngest of 6 children. He grew up in the kind of environment where violence wasn't something you heard about on the news, but something that lived right outside your front door.
In the city, y'all niggas, you feel me, like, niggas won't blemish me and shit for no reason.
His father, Kevin Brown Sr., known around the neighborhood as Big Kevin, didn't have steady work. One of the ways he kept things moving was by pulling his young son into low-level crime, including altering VIN numbers on stolen vehicles to make them look legitimate. Braylon was still a child when he was learning how to help his father make stolen cars disappear on paper. By the time he was 15, the state had already seen enough. He was committed to the Texas Juvenile Justice Department for burglary of a vehicle and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. That stretch inside changed his life in 2 ways. First, it introduced him to a young guy named Damon Cotton, a fellow inmate who would later become the most important person in the worst chapter of Braylon's story. Second, it gave him time to start taking music seriously. His first song dropped while he was still in detention and reportedly pulled around 100,000 views, enough to get him a manager and a reason to believe there was another path available to him. That path had a name: Crazy Boy Bray. Out of detention and back in Fort Worth, Braylon started building his brand in the underground scene. His music was raw, honest, and deeply rooted in the street life he knew. Songs like No Flexin' and Get Some Money featuring Cooley Ray Ray started circulating on Apple Music and Spotify, and he was picking up momentum in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Your baby mama freaking me up like a feelings and tell her that got me missing. Roll up to his side and catch him in the I might take his chain, but stealing ain't no fiction. Don't find that you switch on that homie, you tried.
Then, in November of 2020, he linked up with MO3, one of the most respected names in Texas rap at the time, for a remix of You Feel Me that went on to pull roughly 9 million views.
In the city, y'all niggas, you feel me, like, niggas won't blemish me and shit for no reason, but like, you niggas broke. Everybody I know around is broke. You know what I'm saying? Chantana just got out. I took her to the jeweler. I spent $45K. Bullshit.
For a local rapper from the west side of Fort Worth, that was a serious number, and people were starting to pay attention. But parallel to all of that, Braylon had been deepening his ties with the Rolling 60 Crips, one of 38 Crips sets operating in Fort Worth. He was formally documented as a member by April of 2019, with tattoos, social media posts, and associates all confirming his affiliation. He also became connected to a local subgroup called Brothers Over Everything, operating out of the Lake Worth area and linked to a string of violent incidents around the city. The streets and the studio were becoming harder and harder to separate. In January of 2020, things escalated badly. Braylon and his associates were hunting a rival rapper known as Channel 5 J-Dub, and in the process, 2 people who had nothing to do with any of it ended up dead. On January 9th, a 33-year-old mother named Anjone Eubanks was killed in crossfire. 3 days later, a 17-year-old student named Cheyenne Moore was shot and killed in a similar incident. Both were innocent people caught in the middle of a beef that wasn't theirs.
Are remembering her as a kind-hearted woman and a motherly type to so many. Eubanks was shot and killed inside this home we're told she was visiting Thursday night.
All I heard was a bang, bang, bang. But it was, police had the street blocked off here. A lot of vehicles, police vehicles, up and down the street.
Officer Brad Perez says so far no arrests have been made.
If anyone last night happened to see or hear anything around that time, around 11 p.m., maybe like a vehicle driving off real fast or somebody running, anything that appeared to be suspicious, we do ask that you reach out to us with that information.
It's crazy. Folks just don't value human life anymore.
After J-Dub was eventually found dead, Braylon released a diss track mocking his death called Badass, which prosecutors would later use against him in court as evidence of his mindset and his character.
Crazy Boy was around us when 1-3 died.
Yeah, he had the hit song that was actually going up as, you know, Mo3 passed.
He ain't had no chance in life.
By January of 2021, Braylon was arrested on multiple warrants and placed in Tarrant County Jail, where he was already facing serious charges connected to the drive-by killing of a man named Rashad Duty Johnson. He was locked up, his career was stalling, and the music that was supposed to be his way out had become part of the evidence being built against him. But none of that is the part that makes this story unforgettable. The part that makes people stop and stare when they hear it involves a secret that had been sitting inside the Brown family for years, one that Braylon only found out about while sitting in a jail cell, and one that pushed him to do something that can never be undone. That secret had a name too, Rebecca Willis. Rebecca Shea Willis had been part of the Brown family's story long before anyone realized how complicated that would become. She was the girlfriend of Braylon's older brother, Kevin Brown Jr., known as Little Kevin, and together they had a son. Little Kevin was someone Braylon looked up to genuinely, described in court as someone he had a very loyal and close bond with.
Come on. Cassie, get this. You get this on the ground, Cassie, on your ground. Like, you got a strong. Here we go. When I was 10 million years now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hold on. This is my daughter. This ain't no picture. Say, hey, say, this is my dad.
Hey, this is my daddy.
Say, this is what we do.
That's what you do.
You know what I'm saying? Tell him the hardest from the west side.
West side.
Say, he the hardest from the west side.
The west side.
So when little Kevin was shot and killed during a robbery attempt on January 19, 2016, it hit Braylon at a level that never fully healed. He was around 15 years old, already in the juvenile system, already seeing the world as a place that takes things from you without warning. What nobody knew then, at least not officially, was that something was starting between Shea Willis and Big Kevin, Braylon's father, the same man who had just lost his son. The affair began in October of 2017, more than a year after little Kevin's death, and it was kept secret for years. Shea eventually became pregnant by Big Kevin and gave birth to a daughter. That child was, at the same time, Big Kevin's daughter, a half-sibling to Braylon and a half-sibling to the son that Shea had with Little Kevin, which meant Little Kevin's own child now had a baby sister who was also, technically, his uncle's child. The family tree had become something that required a diagram to explain. By the time this came to light, Shea Willis had moved in with Big Kevin. They were living together in the same house with their daughter, and one of Braylon's sisters, LaWanda Tink Brown, was living there too. The household knew something was going on, and as Shea herself would later testify, everybody had their suspicions, but the full truth about who the younger child's father was didn't get officially confirmed until after Big Kevin was already dead. Braylon found out about all of this from inside Tarrant County Jail. The exact moment isn't captured on any recording, but what his accomplices later described in court tells you everything you need to know about how he took it. His former girlfriend, Alexis Abeta, testified that Braylon described his father as grimy, linking his anger directly to the relationship with his brother's baby mother and the child that came from it. Another accomplice, Ashlyn Durham, described his motive in similar terms, saying the issue was that his father had been involved with someone connected to his brother. In Braylon's mind, this wasn't just a personal betrayal. It was a violation of his brother's memory, a disrespect to someone who could no longer defend his own name. And in the world Braylon came from, disrespect like that had a price. He started planning the murder in mid-December of 2021 while sitting in a jail cell. The tools available to him were a jail-issued tablet and a phone, and he used both to build out a plan that involved at least 4 other people. Because he knew jail communications were monitored, he developed a basic code. Guns became controllers, bullets became pieces, and the murder itself was referred to as the play. The target, his own father standing at the mailbox, was referred to as the African monster or the front door version. He contacted Demond Cotton, the same person he had met years earlier in juvenile detention, and enlisted him as the shooter. Cotton was a 19-year-old rolling 60 associate with access to weapons and enough loyalty to Braylon to go through with it. Alexis Abita was pulled in for logistics. She was directed to buy ammunition at Academy Sports and hand-deliver it to Cotton, with Braylon reimbursing her through Cash App. Ashlyn Durham, Cotton's girlfriend, was the driver, and another woman named Robin Rich sent Durham $25 via Cash App for gas money the night before. Intermediaries named Kaylin Harris and Jamar Korn Gibson helped relay messages and coordinate the moving pieces. The lure was set for January 25, 2022. Around 4:53 in the afternoon, Alexis Abita set up a three-way phone call connecting Braylon, herself, and Big Kevin. Braylon kept his father talking, mentioning chains and jewelry, telling him to go check the mailbox for a package. Big Kevin stepped outside his home on Beacon Way in Fort Worth, walked toward the brick mailbox, and stood there while still on the phone. He had no idea what was waiting for him. Cotton and Durham had been parked nearby in a black Chrysler 200 for 11 to 12 minutes, waiting. Cotton was in the back seat with a rifle equipped with a homemade casing catcher designed to keep shell casings from scattering at the scene. When Big Kevin appeared at the mailbox, Cotton leaned out from the rear window and fired. The shot struck Kevin Brown Sr. in the head, and brick fragments from the mailbox exploded outward. He collapsed in the driveway and died at the scene. Shay Willis was there. She ran to him as he lay dying and told responding officers that Big Kevin was her father, a lie she told to keep the nature of their relationship hidden even in that moment. Body camera footage captured her yelling into her phone, "I don't know why he came outside," as if she was trying to make sense of what just happened. Big Kevin's mother, Deborah Ingram, was also at the scene, and within moments of arriving, she told police that this was probably connected to her grandson, Braylon, almost instinctively understanding what the family was capable of. The vehicle fled, but it had a bent right quarter panel and a flat tire, making it distinctly recognizable on city surveillance cameras and license plate readers. Police traced it back to Durham's residence at Maxwell Apartments, where she confessed almost immediately, and her account of what happened pointed directly back to Braylon inside the jail. 9 minutes after the shooting, Abita tried to reach Cotton, leading to another three-way call that included Braylon. He was already managing the aftermath from his cell, messaging people about what had just happened, fully aware that his father had just been shot in the head because he had arranged it. The police initially suspected this was gang retaliation against Braylon himself, but handwritten letters found in Cotton's apartment addressed to Braylon and reflecting a close personal friendship shifted everything. This was not a random gang hit. This was personal, planned, and executed by someone who believed he was settling a matter of family honor while locked up in a jail cell 30 miles away. Investigators spent months building the case, and what they ended up with was overwhelming. Detective Michael Soanes compiled a timeline built from more than 75,000 tablet messages, phone logs, social media records from Instagram and Facebook, Cash App transfers, and surveillance footage. The digital trail Braylon left behind while trying to speak in code was more than enough to reconstruct exactly what he had done and when he had done it. In October of 2022, Braylon and Alexis Abita were formally charged with murder. Damon Cotton and Ashlyn Durham had already been picked up, with Durham's confession serving as one of the earliest and most detailed pieces of testimony about the planning and execution of the killing. Braylon's trial began in November of 2023 in Tarrant County's 396th District Court before Judge George Gallagher. Prosecutors Katie Owens and Matt Rivers argued the case under Texas's law of parties, which holds a person criminally responsible for a crime they directed others to carry out, even if they were not physically present. The theory was straightforward. Braylon organized every element of the murder, identified the target, arranged the weapon and the ammunition, set up the lure, and monitored the operation in real time. That made him just as guilty as the man who pulled the trigger. Durham and Abita both testified for the prosecution. Their cases were still pending at the time, and the defense attacked their credibility on that basis, pointing out that cooperating witnesses often have personal reasons to shade their testimony. But prosecutors came prepared with what Texas law requires for accomplice testimony to stand: independent corroboration from non-accomplice sources. The vehicle identification, the Cash App records, the jail communication logs, the surveillance footage, and the letters between Cotton and Braylon all provided that corroboration independently of anything the accomplices said.
Like, the little boy he called me while he was in jail one time, and I wish they played one of his trials. I said, listen, take the plea deal, and thank God that you might see another day.
Braylon had been offered a 50-year plea deal before trial and turned it down. During the punishment phase, he took the stand himself and denied any involvement in his father's death. He told the jury he had found out about the affair only after the murder, not before, and that the family betrayal the prosecution was describing as his motive was something he had no knowledge of until it was too late to act on. He also told the court that he had converted to Christianity while incarcerated. The jury did not find any of it persuasive. His own music worked against him in a way that would have been almost ironic if the subject weren't so serious. Prosecutors submitted lyrics from his song Criticizing, which included lines that referenced his father and the affair in ways that were difficult to explain away. The defense had argued during trial that Braylon lacked any motive tied to the Willis situation, and by making that argument, the court ruled that Braylon had opened the door to the admission of his own lyrics as character and motive evidence. Lines like "R.I.P. KB, my father, for doing what he did," and "Don't be mad at me, be mad at your pops for what he did," went in front of the jury and stayed there. After 8 days of trial, the jury convicted him and sentenced him to life without the possibility of parole, classifying him as a repeat offender based on his connections to multiple other homicides, including the drive-by killing of Rashad Johnson in 2021.
Man, but Brian, that shit. You know anything that you done, how you done it. Take the plea deal. I don't know what you done, but take the plea deal. Because at the end of the day, he don't know what he just faced. He finna spend the rest of his life.
Damon Cotton stood trial separately in March of 2024. He did not testify on his own behalf, but the evidence presented mirrored what had been shown in Braylon's case. Cotton was convicted and sentenced to 65 years with parole eligibility after 32.5 years. Ashlyn Durham and Alexis Abita were still facing murder charges as of the time of writing, with their cooperation noted but their cases unresolved. Braylon appealed his conviction in 2023 under case number 02-23-00321-CR, raising 5 separate challenges. He argued that his rap lyrics had been improperly admitted under rules that govern the use of prior bad act evidence. He challenged the body camera footage used at trial. He contested the authentication of social media records and argued they contained inadmissible hearsay. He claimed that a FaceTime testimony had been improperly classified as a present-sense impression, and he argued that the evidence overall was insufficient to support the conviction, given that he was incarcerated at the time of the murder and did not physically participate. The Texas Second Court of Appeals addressed all 5 points in a per curiam memorandum opinion issued on July 3, 2025, and overruled every single one of them. The court held that the rap lyrics were properly admitted because Braylon's own trial strategy had opened that door. Any evidentiary errors identified were deemed harmless given the overall strength of the evidence. The social media records had been properly authenticated through affidavits and contextual information, and the evidence of guilt, taken as a whole, was more than sufficient under the standards set out in Jackson v. Virginia. The conviction was affirmed with only a minor technical modification to how his guilty plea to a sentencing enhancement had been entered into the record. Chief Justice Southerth concurred without writing a separate opinion. As of early 2026, there are no further appeals on record and no indication that anything about this outcome will change. Braylon Lamont Brown will spend the rest of his life in a Texas prison. What gets left behind when something like this happens is a family that has been fractured in almost every direction at once. Big Kevin's mother lost her son to her own grandson's decision. Shay Willis's children, one fathered by a man who died in 2016 and one fathered by a man who was murdered in 2022, are left to navigate a lineage that carries more grief than most adults could hold. LaWanda Tink Brown, who was living in that house and who found the Facebook messages confirming what her father had done with Shay, had to process both the betrayal and the murder of the person who betrayed her family. And somewhere in all of this, there are children who will grow up knowing that the people who were supposed to protect them could not even protect each other. The music is still up on streaming platforms, the views are still climbing, and Braylon Brown, who was 21 years old when he arranged his father's death and had a song with 9 million streams on the way up, will not be making any more of it. What do you think about this case? Do you think Bray's father deserved to die for such blatant betrayal? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.